All right, week 15, Monday Night Football. Little bit of a snooze fest, but what do you expect when you got Steelers, Dolphins? At least we got Steve back on the show. We got a few phenomenal games I saved up. I didn't touch on Rams, Lions yesterday because I thought, maybe the Sunday Nighter, maybe the Monday Nighter might be a little bit flat. So we got a lot to talk about this evening. Steve, thanks for being with me, brother. Good to see you. How you doing?
Yeah, man. What a Sunday just to have that poor Monday.
Yeah.
What a Sunday, though.
Crazy, dude. And fantasy playoffs are going on. How your team's been?
50-50. Some moving on. Some didn't even make the playoffs. So,
Man,
whatever.
I know we were talking about it pre-show, but I didn't even tell you this, but I don't understand the multiple week playoff matchups that you were telling me. Like I've never experienced that. I've never played in a league where you're playing multiple weeks and you combine all the points. But I just think that's ridiculous, dude. Like, what are we doing? Like, I feel like it should just be a week and you're done. Weeks matchup, go face to face and it's over.
They got to fix that. Like, it's a 14 play. I'm in a 12 or 10 person league and we're doing a 14 playoff. I believe it's a 10 person league doing a 14 playoff. And for 14 playoffs, there's only 2 rounds.
Yeah.
And so they're starting the playoffs last week. But the problem is you got players on a bye. So you're low-key getting screwed if you have CMC or like a Drake May and they're on a bye.
Yeah.
But luckily I was able to win that league, so it's all good. I have the best team in the league, so I'm hoping to win a championship, but still.
There we go. No, I love getting bought into fantasy. It's so nice. Like, for me, I was playing in a league with a bunch of buddies, and it was all about just, like, escaping the punishment. Like, the second I made the playoffs, I could care less about the cash. I was just like, please, like, don't make me run around the street, like, butt naked or something like that, whatever they got cooking up. So I'm just happy I escaped the punishment. It was kind of an interesting week. I think there were some players that for sure hit, like Travion Henderson this week, huge week for the Pats if you started them. But then you see guys like Joe Burrow, pretty much anybody in Cincinnati, I feel like you start and it's just complete bust. Thankfully, we're talking about that today. You all know the drill. It's JV on the JV show, week 15 recap with my boy Steve. I do want to shout out my sponsor for the season, Big Third Down Shop. If you haven't checked them out, the link is in my bio to shop their hats, embroidered NFL branded hats, just like this JV show one. You can go get yourself one for Christmas. Never too late. Steve, we just watched Steelers 28, Dolphins 15. Any key takeaways? I mean, I'm watching the game, and we were talking before the show started about Tua. I can't get behind Tua as a starter. I just don't think he can turn it around. He's a turnover machine, doesn't see the field very well. His arm isn't impressive to me. Obviously, there are concussion concerns. Doesn't play well in the playoffs or cold weather, which is kind of important unless you're winning the division, which you won't with the Patriots and the Bills. I've thought it's over for a while. Like, I've looked at Tua since he's entered the league and said this will never work out. But I don't know why people still continue to rally around him. I know statistically tonight didn't look too bad, but if you watch the game, I mean, some of the sacks, the interception, it was just brutal. Like, you couldn't watch it.
Yeah, I think if you were just to outright say Tua is the worst starting quarterback in the league, it wouldn't be that crazy. I wouldn't agree with you, but I wouldn't look at you funny because he isn't that far off. He is easily one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the league, especially when he's in the cold. I think if Tua is your quarterback in the cold, he's the last guy you'd want under center. I mean, coming in tonight, he was 0 for 5, 6 touchdowns, 5 picks, and 40-degree or below at kickoff. And now he's 0-6, and he stat-padded 2 touchdowns. But he had an ugly duck pick, took some bad sacks, like you said, because he offers you no escapability. If it's not 2023 and it's warm weather, he gives you those quick hitters over the middle in the RPO. He's not giving you much. There's just no juice. I always like to say Tua is like a sports car. He's like a car who won't start in the cold. Like, the engine's frozen. He can't function. And they went on a 4-game winning streak, and some people thought the Dolphins had some juice. They were winning in spite of Tua, right? And the thing with Miami is, like, their best offense is when the ball's not in Tua's hands, when the ball's in the Devon Achane's hands. And this guy's making $55 million a year. If I have to say that the team is winning in spite of you, if I have to say the best part about an offense is when it's not in your hands and you're making $55 million, that is, like, a major concern. And if I'm Miami, this is going to be a long offseason because it's not just Tua. They got Mike McDaniel, but Tua is the biggest problem in Miami right now.
Oh, I just can't believe the 55 million. I honestly didn't even think about it, Steve, going into the episode, but when you mentioned that number, like I look at a guy like Trevor Lawrence who's also making 55 million, and it's like, okay, maybe he shouldn't be making that either, but at least you can see a little bit of growth this year. Like at least he's putting on a little bit here, scoring 6 touchdowns this week. I know it was against the Jets, but Tua, I mean, every game I watch just looks like a complete disaster. I don't understand. And the $55 million contract is just wild to me. I thought he should have hung it up after his last concussion when it just looked terrible. And, obviously it's hard to hang up the cleats. And listen, it's not easy to throw the football in the cold. Like, have you been there, like, trying to throw something in the cold? It's not easy. A frozen
I'm
rock.
from Ohio, dude. Like, I know it can get zero sometimes. And when you're playing outside, it sucks.
It does, but it's like you said, Steve, you're getting paid $55 million. What are we paying you the money for? You're not even making the playoffs at this point. And I saw on the broadcast that he's got, 15, 16 picks in zone coverage this season. He just doesn't see the field well. And as a quarterback, I don't know how you can be a starting quarterback when that's the case, when that's your weakness. So tonight, I mean, that couldn't have been more evident. Obviously, the stats, I mean, he had 250 yards, like an 80% completion percentage, Steve. He had above 100 passer rating. That all sounds fancy, but the Dolphins didn't do anything until,
They were
early,
down 25 in the fourth quarter.
mid-fourth quarter. I just don't understand it. I don't understand the offense. It's obviously fraudulent. It's not working. They don't have the playmakers there, or they're just not being used properly, one or the other. Achan's been great this year. He's got 1,500 all-purpose yards on the season, but when the run game is the only thing you got, I'd imagine it's pretty easy to game plan for you. Like load up the box. Tua's going to throw a few interceptions. It's over. And now they missed the playoffs. They've eliminated themselves. Just an embarrassing game for Miami. I'm going to Miami game next week, actually, Steve. Got tickets for $30. That's a pretty good reflection of what this team looks like this year and where they're trending.
Oh, nice. Well, I was just going to say, I'm looking at these Tua numbers. 22nd in passing yards, tied for 18th in touchdowns. He only has 4 more touchdowns than interception, and he's 29th in QBR with 38.3. And I actually think he makes $53 million, not 55. But still, it's only a $3 million difference. That's just a joke at that price tag.
Oh, it's disgusting. And you watch Raj on the other side tonight. I mean, night and day difference. Aaron Rodgers really is a football anomaly. 42 years old right now, and he's still moving like he's in his mid-30s. The playmaking is just unreal for his age, and the arm will still leave you stunned every single week. I can't believe it every single week when I watch Rodgers. I apologize that I said this guy was washed. Clearly, New York, there's something in that water. That team, that franchise just does not function well. When he came to Pittsburgh, I mean, this is the best quarterback season the Steelers have had in almost a decade now. The passes into some windows he makes leave you stunned. You don't even see them, but they appear. Tonight to DK Metcalf when he stiff-armed that guy and just ran right into the end zone. I was blown away. And yeah, that was a big play from DK, but the pass was just 10 out of 10 perfection. I'm not saying the Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl this year. I actually don't think they're going to come close. But Rodgers at least gives them a shot. I think if they had the proper weapons, the right team, I would argue the right coaching, they could go far, but they don't have that. Unfortunately, Aaron's probably going to hang it up after this year from what I've heard. Obviously, they're just speculations. But if he does, I think it's a good way to go out. He's looked phenomenal this year, all things considered.
Yeah, I think this is his last season, too. I predicted that over the summer. I think he kind of hinted to it during some off-season talks. But I said this when they brought in Aaron Rodgers. Actually, before they brought in Aaron Rodgers, when it was rumored that he'd rather go to Pittsburgh or Minnesota, that Pittsburgh's targeting this guy so they can not win the Super Bowl. That's out of the question, but to win their first playoff game since the Obama administration. And if Aaron Rodgers can play like this, where they hang up 28 points, he's wheeling dealing, I think that's his best completion percentage since his prime a decade ago, they could win a playoff game. They're going to host it in the cold temperatures up there in Pittsburgh. They're not going to win no Super Bowl, but they're going to win the division. Now, I thought Baltimore was going to, but they have an easier remaining schedule than Baltimore. I think they're up a game or two. But the way Aaron Rodgers playing, they had a stretch in the game where they had 4 straight touchdown drives. They said on the broadcast that the first Pittsburgh's had since 2018. And like you said, this is the best quarterback the Steelers have had since Ben Roethlisberger in his prime. And, I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers, just a lot of it wasn't deep, but it was precision. It was smart. It was keeping the ball out of harm's way. And if he can play like this, again, it was the Dolphins. Don't get me wrong. It was the Dolphins. But if he could play like this and they catch, they'll probably be the 4 seed. I wonder who will be the 5. But if they can catch like a struggling offense in that 4-5 at home, they could win a playoff game, or at very least get them a run for the money, not get blown out like they had in years past. Because that's the thing about Pittsburgh is everyone's like, oh, well, they make the playoffs. It's not that they get to the playoffs. It's when they get to the playoffs, they get 20-balled like every time, even by like a Baker Mayfield or a Blake Bortles. I think the way Aaron Rodgers is playing, they won't get blown out.
Well, I'm just pulling up here, Steve, the playoff picture as of right now. So the end of Week 15, and it would be the Chargers. And, that's a reasonable matchup for the Steelers. Like, I think the Chargers are a beatable team. If you get Buffalo, who's in 6, Houston, who's in 7, gets a little bit dicey then.
Yeah, the Chargers, that's the game they want to see.
But you want to see the Chargers, especially at home, a team that is not used to the cold weather. I mean, you get Buffalo, that's a cold weather team. That's Josh Allen. You don't want to see that. You get Houston. That's an unbelievable defense against Rodgers.
Yeah.
But the Chargers, I mean, they're definitely beatable. Probably the worst team in the AFC in that playoff picture, I would argue right now. I think Herbert's great. I think what they've done is awesome this year, but the protection just screams issues to me. And the defense is good, but I think they're very beatable. Like, they're missing pieces. So if you're Pittsburgh and you're looking at that matchup right now, that looks good, and I think you need to get that under your belt because Tomlin, for almost a decade now, has gone winless in the playoffs, and that's just not going to cut it. Like, you got to be better. You've had the rosters to do so. I know after Big Ben's prime, you didn't really have the quarterback play, but there have been opportunities. In that time frame, you lost to Baker Mayfield and the Browns, who won their first playoff game in God knows how long, right? Like, it's been pretty bad. So you kind of need this for your franchise, and Aaron's been really impressive. And honestly, Steve, I think it's pretty clear they win the division. I think Baltimore's remaining schedule, they got New England, then the Packers, then they play the Steelers.
Yeah.
If the Steelers beat the Browns, it's all over. And I don't think the Ravens win another game unless they beat the Steelers in Week 18, which I don't even think will matter. And we'll talk about the Ravens later tonight. But that was my overall thoughts on the Steelers in tonight's game. Nothing too crazy. I do want to talk about Sunday night, though, Steve. Vikings 34, Cowboys 26. Interesting game. I mean, two teams that obviously aren't making it to the playoffs. Cowboys, I don't know if they're mathematically eliminated, but they're done.
Shot.
Like, 100%. It's over for them. It was crazy fans. Even watching the games, it kind of seemed like they were a playoff team around Thanksgiving, like the run they were going on with the way the offense looked. But now with George Pickens kind of being on and off with the attitude, we'll talk about that. But first and foremost, the Vikings, J.J. McCarthy, Steve. I know we've talked about him lots on the show here. J.J. McCarthy for 2 weeks has looked like a starting quarterback in the NFL. Now, I'm not blind. He played Washington and Dallas. Those aren't good defenses. But considering what he looked like early on in the season, this is a huge improvement for him. And I don't think you can give up on him after a bad 6-game stretch. The question becomes, can he overcome his flaws? He throws with insane speed. He's got to throw with some touch. Every ball is an 1,000-mile-per-hour fastball, and he progresses through his reads too slowly, and he's too late on his throws, and that's where the turnovers come. Now, I've seen some progression this year, but are you going to get to that point? Like, I don't think it's fair to write him off yet, but at what point is it like the cutoff date of you're either the guy or not? He's 22 years old. He's a young guy in a busy offense that was ready to win. It's not easy to walk in and do it, but at what point is it like, all right, we can't deal with this. We got to go to the next guy.
Yeah, I'm with you. So listen, right? J.J. McCarthy, all I got to say is fairs, J.J., shout out to you, because I'm a firm believer, and if you criticize a guy heavily when he plays poorly, you got to do the opposite direction in the praise when he plays well. And J.J. McCarthy, these last 2 weeks, has been playing well, so I got to give him his props. I've never been a J.J. McCarthy guy. It's no secret. I've been on the show saying I didn't think he was first-round pick. I didn't think he showed enough at Michigan. On the tape, was just doing a lot of handoffs, and his defense helped him win the national championship. And he's like the same age as me. Didn't think he was ready to take over this team and lead in the playoffs. And his first couple of starts, he was either not healthy or he looked like the worst quarterback since DeMarcus Russell as far as success rate. But these last 2 games now, again, he's played the Commanders' Cowboys defense, but 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. Okay, so I still have some, things with JJ. I think he throws that 100-mile-an-hour fastball. He needs to calm down on the touch and fix that up, do a little bit better on the turnovers and clean up the sacks. But we all know they're out of the playoffs. But like you said, it's just a matter of, can this 22-year-old finish the season strong so you go into next season confident that, okay, we have something to work with. Because just like 5 weeks ago, Minnesota was like, is Sam Darnold's number still on our phone? Can we somehow get it back? Is Kirk Cousins ready to come back and suit up for Minnesota? I think his family loves playing here because J.J. McCarthy was a disaster. But these last 2 weeks, 9, as he likes to call himself, I think it's so corny, but 9 is balling. And he's earning that 9 title. The inner demon has come out, and he's got 5 touchdowns and a pick. So if he can continue to play like this to end the season, I think that's what Kevin O'Connell wants. Because this year's a wash. This year's a wash. They were, 13-win team last year, 12-win team last year, and now they're out of the playoffs with 5 wins. But it's all up to J.J. McCarthy's progression. If he keeps this on track, then that's a nice end to the season.
I mean, I was watching him throw against the Cowboys, and after the pretty bad interception to kick off the game, and again, that was just a late read, a late reaction. You throw the interception impulsively, but after that, it's like rolling out to his left, back corner touchdown to Naylor, then another deep ball to Naylor, and it was connection after connection after connection, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns plus a rushing touchdown, only 1 interception, 108 passer rating. It was a good night, and you're right, Steve. This is the perfect spot for J.J. McCarthy to prove himself because you have no responsibilities as far as the playoffs go. That's written off. You can play freely and show them that you're worth another shot next year. Now, I wouldn't blame Minnesota if maybe they're somewhat in the quarterback market. They're listening to offers because if JJ was playing like this, I'll be honest with you, I think the Vikings have a shot at the playoffs in the NFC. I know it's a tight battle, but they're only a few wins off, and JJ has probably lost them a good handful of games, 4 to 5 games this year by himself. If he can end the season with 3 really good games, I don't care who they play, that's impressive to me. That's enough to say, okay, maybe we can test you out next year, but you're going to need to see the constant growth and improvement because I understand I'm all for the development, the 22 years old, but you got to look like you're worth something. You can't look like those first 6 weeks. But these last 2 weeks, I mean, credit to JJ. I said it to start the season. Give him time. I think he can be a decent quarterback. He's just going to need to see some development here. With the Cowboys, Steve, I mean, you're looking at a veteran in Dak Prescott on the other side of the ball. What did you make of his performance? I think all year long he's been pretty impressive considering how bad the defense has been, especially the secondary, which we'll talk about. He's been great. I mean, he kicked off the year looking like an MVP guy. I applaud Dak for coming off the injury and looking like this.
Yeah, he just wasn't as sharp last night. Didn't feel like he had it all the way. But this is the thing about the Cowboys season, and is their defense just has so many holes. If Dak Prescott doesn't look like the greatest quarterback ever, they really have no shot. If he's not scoring 30-plus points a game, they don't have a chance. Now, during their 3-game winning streak, when it looked like, they can run the table and make a playoffs, they're the hottest team in the league, not only did Dak look sharp, but he had help by his defense. Those new additions on the side of the ball started to come alive, but now the defense has started to regress towards the mean and where they look like they have a bunch of holes. I think overall, this is why they traded for Micah Parsons. I mean, they traded away Micah Parsons in the first place. It's because they didn't want to pay one guy $55-60 million and have all these holes anywhere. But when you trade Micah Parsons, and like I said during the offseason, it's like, this is going to be a down season for Dallas. Now, they really try to make a push, but now they're pretty much almost mathematically eliminated. This is going to be a down season, and it's going to wait until another year for those first-round picks to kick in where you're going to have to spend them all on corners, spend them all on edge rushers, and get this defense fixed because this is not a playoff-level defense. And the offense wasn't bad last night. They settled for too many field goals. The kicker, Aubrey, is usually sharp, missed a few. But if their offense doesn't look like the greatest show on turf, then they don't really have a chance.
No, you hit the nail on the head. My question for you, Steve, is are the Cowboys good enough to retool and climb the ranks? Because I think they're closer to a championship right now than they are a rebuild. They're sitting somewhere in that middle range, but I think they have some good talent working for them. I think they got Dak in the prime of his career right now. This is the best Dak has looked in a long time. They got him at this level for a few more years, I would assume. But there's a lot of question marks, right? What do you do with George Pickens now? Do you pay him or do you let him walk? Kenny Clark, Quinnen Williams, they've been great on the D-line, but I'm not a fan of the secondary. I just don't think they're very good. They have the flashy interception numbers in the past, but they are dead last at 254 pass yards against per game. The DBs just get torched weekly, and you can see it on film, you can see it on the stat sheet. Dak is really at his peak. Like I said, like if in a perfect world, like this would be the opportunity to capitalize, but I don't know, like do you see them as a team that can just retool next year and potentially contend for something? Because like I said earlier on in the episode, I thought watching them for that 3-week span around Thanksgiving, it was like, oh my goodness. Like they could seriously do something in the playoffs if they happen to win out this division or crack a wild card. I wouldn't want to see them, and then it just kind of tapered off.
Yeah, I think Dallas is a playoff team next year if Jerry continues to play his cards right post-Micah trade. I think they have enough talent to take another leap this offseason. What happened for the Micah trade? The picks, Quinnen Williams, Kenny Clark, they just need to spend a little bit more on the DBs, maybe another edge rusher. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with George Pickens. That's the key, because this offense is a lot better when they have CD and that wide receiver too humming. It was like that in the past with Amari Cooper and CD, but now it's can we get George Pickens back? I don't know if they're going to resign Pickens because I don't know what Pickens is going to command. But what I know is his offense is a lot better when they got both wide receivers clicking. But as far as, like, let's say if he walks, they have a top 5 wide receiver in his prime. Javonte Williams looks like a hit. Their quarterback's top 10. And then defensively, they started adding some pieces post-Micah. It's just going to take another offseason. And I think if Jerry Jones, because they spent so many previous draft picks on the offensive line, continues to play his cards right and they hit on the right personnel defensively in the draft, because Dallas hasn't been that bad of a drafting team over the years, I think they can make the playoffs next year and actually like contend for the division.
Right.
Because they got pretty close this year in a down year, I thought, without Micah Parsons.
Right, and that's also considering that the Eagles have kind of been on and off, but I agree with you. I think the thing with Micah is he covered so many flaws on the defense because he is a true game changer, right? When you got a guy like that putting pressure on the quarterback, there are some things that can be overlooked on a defense, but now you're kind of seeing all the flaws come out, and if you address them this offseason, I mean, like you said, I didn't even mention Devontae, but he's got, 1,200 yards from scrimmage, 1,300 yards from scrimmage this year. That's been a huge hit. 10 out of 10 season from him for a run game that I thought would be, dead last this year, to be honest with you. From what I saw last year, and Rico Dowdle's balled out in Carolina, they had nothing going for them. So this has been a big step forward, but now it's, can we capitalize? Can we give Dak the pieces to see if he's got it right now? We're paying him an absurd amount of money. We got to win. This is unbelievable if we can't make the playoffs next year. We got to make a move here. Jerry's got to pull his pants up and just go for it. He's got to do it, right? So I think this is a big offseason for the Cowboys to see if they can actually move into that playoff contention, Super Bowl contention conversation. Talking about Super Bowl contenders, Steve, the Rams just put belt to ass. I mean, the Lions put up a really good fight, but the Rams, to me, look like the best team in the NFC still, especially with the Packers and all the injuries that they sustained this week. Unfortunately, it just doesn't look good. Micah out. Bunch of guys on that defense. Tucker Kraft has been missing all year. Christian Watson, we know the impact that he's brought to this offense. Now you're watching the Rams. They destroy that Detroit defense. Rams 41, Lions 34. Stafford's arm is like a video game. Watching this week, I was just blown away again. It's not normal to be that good at age 37 with your arm. He makes it look easy, and it's eye-opening to watch his film and watch him embarrass defenses. You need a throw made, he's going to deliver, man. It's wild. The sideline fade with an inch radius to Puka. It was one of the best throws I've seen all year from a quarterback. Over the middle like it's a bad dream. Like, the amount of times I saw him pick Detroit's pocket over the middle, deep dig, deep slant, just over and over and over. I was stunned, man. You give him zone coverage, it's game over. You can't stop him. If you let him heat up in the playoffs, I don't think there's a secondary that can stop him, to be honest with you. And there are some good defenses in the NFL, but geez, you're going to need to throw him off his game. Like, that's how you're going to get a W against this team. Otherwise, you're going to get terrorized.
Yeah, dude, I really liked what I saw from the Rams yesterday. When this offense is clicking, there's just talent all over the place. From the line to the two backs, especially Kyron Williams, and the receivers. Now, you got to get Devontae Adams healthy. That's going to be key on Thursday night, because Thursday night is going to be a massive game. Everyone wants to declare the Rams the number 1 seed. Well, they got to play. Let me see real quick if that's in Seattle. That's in Seattle. Okay, there we go. It's in Seattle. They got to go in Seattle on Thursday night and play the Seahawks. And that's not only for the West. I believe that's for the 1 seed. So it's going to be, that's the game that's going to determine who's the best team in the NFC. But as far as just the Rams, their secondary defensively isn't all that great. Jared Goff, St. Brown, Jameson Williams torched them. But this offense, Stafford, McVay, Puka, Devontae Adams, Kyron, I would put a lot of money on that unit just going all the way through the NFC. That's just a comfortable, safe bet, because it's just a nice, well-oiled machine at this point in the season, and they really just – the score looks a lot closer because the Lions put up a good fight. Part of it was because of a pick six, but they really put the spanking on Detroit.
Well, you know what? And here's the thing with the Lions. I watched the game. People can blame the officiating as per usual. People can blame the defense. People tend to blame Jared Goff a lot. I just thought it was a game between two really good teams, two high-powered offenses, and the better team that day won. Stafford won. Like, he was just a little bit better than Jared Goff, I thought. But Jared Goff played a good game. Like, it's not always a blame game when you lose these highly competitive playoff atmosphere games. Like, you're going to lose some, you're going to win some. It is what it is. And the Rams just came out the victors. The thing with the Lions, they're not sitting in a good place. Like, this was what felt like a must-win. Now it's must-win-out territory for them, because the NFC playoff picture is so dominant with teams at like 10-4 in the wild card. Like, it's pretty tough to crack the playoffs. But then you look at the history with the Lions. These past few years, they had their opportunities, and at the end of the day, the Lions missed their window. They had the shot in 2023. It was theirs for the taking. You're never guaranteed the playoffs. You're never guaranteed a healthy roster. And that's exactly why when you can do it, Steve, you got to do it. You got to take over. You got to capitalize. You had a lead in 2023 at halftime against the Niners, and you blew it. And that was the opportunity. The next year, you suffered with injuries. This year, same story. Defense looks depleted. You're missing Laporta. They're still a really good team. They still have the talent that will carry them to successful seasons, especially offensively. But the NFC isn't theirs anymore. They no longer have control of the NFC. These time periods, they don't come around for too long. It's not like the Chiefs. Like, that's 1 in a million. They dominated the AFC for almost a decade. Lions got a few years, and like, they had their opportunity, but now it's hard to see otherwise. With the Packers coming back next year healthy, because I don't know if they can do it now with all the injuries. The Rams still at peak form. As long as Stafford's there, it's going to be tough to climb your way back in, and then guys are going to need contracts. Like, they still got star players playing on rookie deals.
Yeah, dude, I thought you hit it right on the head. I am a firm believer that fans, organizations, they just never understand or never know how they overestimate how big their window is. Now, what I really liked about Dan Campbell's, after that NFC Championship game, he said this might be our only shot. And a lot of people were like, oh my God, that might be too brutally honest. I loved it. Because no matter how talented your team is, no matter how ahead of the rebuild or retool you are, that year that you really just come out firing on all cylinders, that might have been your best chance. Now, you're always going to have a chance. You're always going to be knocking on the door, but you just get further and further away from the door. Like, they were up 17 points, I believe, at San Francisco in the NFC Championship. That was their best shot of not only going to the Super Bowl, but winning the Super Bowl. Then the following year, yeah, they were kind of piecing it together on the defensive end. They were starting you and me out there, but they were the 1 seed hosting home playoff game against a rookie quarterback. You keep missing those chances, because then you're going to have to start paying guys. Then you lose your 2 coordinators. I thought at the beginning of the season they were going to be fine. Dude, how massive has losing Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson been? They're still a very talented team that's capable of putting 34 points on the Rams. They still have St. Brown. They lost Laporta, but Gibbs, Montgomery, Jared Goff, they're still a talented team. But they don't feel as sound. Because remember those last 2 years when they were in the NFC Championship game, then they were the 1 seed. Dude, they were blowing every team out every Sunday. And it was like, this is the best team in the league. They're just a well-oiled machine, rattling off 10 to 20-point wins. They're putting up 1 billion points a game. Defensively, they're fine. Something's off. You see the talent output is still there, but as far as like getting the wins and finishing the games off, they're not as strong as they used to be. And it's like you said, you just never know when your window is.
Oh, the thing about the playoffs, too, like you touched on, Steve, there's a lot that factors in. It's not simply just talent. I thought when the Lions first made that playoff rush, they had a lot of momentum going their way. And I think they lost. Who did they lose to year one? I'm drawing a blank right now. But they had opportunities where it felt like not only Detroit was behind them, but the entire league. Like last year, I thought a lot of people were on the backs of Washington. Like they were on that train and like, hey, rookie year, Jaden Daniels, we want to see them win. Now there's a drop-off this year. Momentum's a real thing. And sometimes when you can carry that into the playoffs, it can help you out a little bit. Now it's like, can you do it consistently? And I know it's been a tough season, and the NFC is an incredibly difficult conference to break through right now because of teams like the Niners who have dealt with a really easy strength of schedule, but who also have a really good team right now. You're going to have to win some good matchups in division, and look at your division right now. Like, I know the Vikings have been a pretty much easy pass this season, but even they look pretty good these past few weeks. And the Vikings beat them, exactly. And then it's Packers, and then it's Bears. Both those teams are 10, 11-win teams right now. It's not easy. And like you said, you just never know when it's going to disappear. And I honestly thought starting the season that they were going to take a huge hit. People underestimated the loss of Ben Johnson. Look what he's done in Chicago. And then Aaron Glenn. Like, I think Shep's done a fine job with the defense. They're bruised on the defensive side of the ball. The secondary is just wiped clean, and they had injuries in game too. But that's sports. That's the NFL, and that's why when you get the opportunities, especially as a small, like, niche franchise like the Lions, who haven't had much success historically, you kind of got to take it, and that's your moment, right? So now you're digging your way out of a big hole that you kind of dug yourself into. And I don't know what the odds are looking like, especially with teams like the Packers and the Rams looking so damn good. Let's talk about 2 AFC teams to wrap things up here, Steve. Ravens 24, Bengals 0. Donut. Listen, let's talk about Joe Burrow for a second, because social media, sports media lit up today about Joe Burrow. I don't personally understand it. I don't know your stance on Joe Burrow, so this will be interesting. But to me, like, anyone with half a brain knows Joe Burrow is elite. Like, that's my opinion. I think he's a phenomenal top 5 quarterback in the league always. Fans are questioning it because of a loss when they've been eliminated from the playoffs. This guy takes a beating year after year with that offensive line. Pressure in his face in milliseconds. The interception he threw, the pick 6 he threw, he got swallowed. This offensive line can't handle simple 4-man rushes. Simple. They let guys go unblocked at Joe Burrow. And people argue he's got 2-star receivers, Chase, Higgins. That's true, but that is not enough to do anything in the league. People say elite quarterbacks need excuses. They don't need excuses. Like, I don't understand it. Like, how do you not see? How are you so ignorant? How are you so idiotic to see what's right in front of you, that Joe Burrow does everything he can? What can Joe Burrow do that would take them to the playoffs? Honestly, like what more can he do besides maybe not starting as slow as he has every single season?
Well, I think we can all agree that Joe Burrow is one of the 5 best quarterbacks in this league. But my issue is Joe Burrow just rarely gets blamed. And what I mean by that is, listen, so this guy, right, Joe Burrow, whenever the Bengals lose, you always hear it's the O-line, the cheap organization, the coaches, it's the defense. And I'm not saying that isn't true. Those are factors. But this quarterback in the last 6 quarters has double interceptions as touchdowns. This quarterback now has missed the playoffs in each of the last 3 seasons in his prime. Now, half of that is because he hasn't been healthy all the time, and that is true. But those first 2 seasons, right, the guy started off slow, and it costed them. And now this season, he starts on time, but he gets hurt. And when he comes back and wins against Baltimore on Thanksgiving, the Bengals were poised to run the table because the AFC North is in disarray. Well, now they're dead because he decides to throw 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter up against Buffalo and blow a 10-point lead. And now he scores 0 points at home against Baltimore. Again, I think Joe Burrow is in a tough spot because his organization's cheap. T. Higgins wasn't playing. The defense isn't that good. He's got a lame duck head coach. And I think he's been getting beat up in an Andrew Luck-style way. But whenever the Bengals lose, it's always like, oh, Joe Burrow can't do no wrong. Free Burrow. It's like, why is this guy, so blame-free? This guy, he's got multiple interceptions in the last 6 quarters. He's not helping.
You know what? And I'm not going to deny the fact that Burrow against the Bills, where he honestly had a flawless game besides those 2 interceptions, which lost them the game. Like, that's just what it is. And against the Ravens, one went off Chase's hands. The other one was the offensive line just blowing up. They sent a huge pressure blitz on him. It happens. The O-line is just historically bad. But I agree with you. Like, there is some blame to go to Burrow because at the end of the day, as a Bills fan, I watch Josh Allen take the Bills to the playoffs every year. And the Bills, although the team is a little bit better than Cincinnati's, it's not like astronomically different. Like, Josh Allen does a lot with very little. But I think with Joe Burrow, the thing is like, he can't make mistakes. Jalen Hurts can make mistakes in Philly. Matthew Stafford can make mistakes with the Rams. And he doesn't tend to make mistakes, but when he does, he has the team, he has the support system, the structure built around him where they can bounce back from it. Burrow makes a mistake or two, game's pretty much over. So I think when people criticize him, you also have to understand, like, yeah, he's a problem at points. Like, he can throw a few interceptions. That can cost them the game. But, like, what are you going to do? Like, where is the defense that can get a stop for you when your quarterback throws a bad interception? Where is the complementary football? That's what's missed in Cincinnati. At the end of the day, Steve, like, something's got to change. Obviously, you've mismanaged Burrow, Chase, and Higgins. Obviously, the contract to Higgins was, in my opinion, a joke. Should have never happened. You didn't need to do it. But also, it's like, what were you going to do with the money? I don't trust this front office to make decisions to put anybody else around Burrow. Like, it's just a complete mess. It's a complete mess. You can't describe it like anything else.
Well, the T. Higgins thing, listen, I've been on this since day one, that the T. Higgins contract was 1,000% the guy that they had to sign. It was just they botched the entire process where they should have signed him a year or two earlier. Could have saved a couple, like $5 million. Because you look at yesterday's game, without T. Higgins, come on. Outside of Jamar Chase, can you name a single Bengals wide receiver? Part of the reason why Burrow had so much trouble is because if Jamar Chase is going to get double teamed here or taken out of the play, I'm looking over at who? Like, I can't get a first down if that's my second receiver. Because look at their offense against Buffalo. Although Buffalo's defense isn't all that good, when they had both wide receivers outside of the Burrow interceptions, they were just rattling off touchdown after touchdown because they have the 2 wide receivers. That's why I'm pro Dallas go re-sign George Pickens, because I think a lot of people, and this is sometimes what kind of pisses me off about all these NFL analysts and football guys, is they always undervalue wide receivers. Look at all these top offenses in the league. Unless you have Josh Allen, who is just like an offensive engine in his own right, a lot of these quarterbacks need 2 wide receivers. The Rams, they don't have a mobile quarterback. So look how good they're doing with Devontae and Puka. You need 2. A Joe Burrow, who's more of like a Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning had Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison. So like these more mobile quarterbacks who are in the pocket, unlike Lamar, who can kind of just play by himself, maybe with just 1 wide receiver, they need the 2 wide receivers. So I've always been pro T. Higgins. I just thought they botched the situation, and they scored 0 points last night with T. Higgins.
The thing with T. Higgins, too, is he just misses a handful of games. Like, he's missed half a season these past few years, and that just doesn't help. But you're right, Steve. Like, we do kind of overlook this whole receiver situation because I think the common saying for them is like they're a dime a dozen, right? Kind of like in fantasy when you're drafting receivers, you feel like you can get one later in the draft that'll do well.
Yeah.
But what I think will burn the Seahawks this year, what I think will burn the Steelers, is ultimately their lack of weapons. DK is great, JSN is great, but who do you turn to on third down when that guy's double? Now, the Seahawks went out and got Rashid Shaheed. That's great, deep ball threat. But what was burning them early on in the season, and I don't know necessarily if he's been established as like the guy Darnold can look to, and maybe it's just a Darnold issue. Anyways, I digress. You kind of do need multiple options in an offense. And it wasn't, like you said, the fact that they went and got T. Higgins, it's just they deal with contracts so poorly. And it's the same thing that happened in Dallas. It's like, hey, if you made the deals with CD and Dak and Mike on time, maybe you could have all three, but you didn't. And it kind of collapsed. And that's where it gets a little bit messy. The Bengals didn't. They decided to pay him, and now it's like you're scratching your head. Now you don't know what's going on. And Trey Hendrickson, too, I mean, that's been a disastrous situation this year. It's just a whole lot of garbage in one organization that has missed the playoffs with pretty elite, talented quarterback and a former Triple Crown receiver just a few years removed now. Like, it's pretty bad. And even the Ravens, Steve, like, yeah, they blew out the Bengals 24-0. But I don't know about this team. Like, I don't feel very comfortable. I don't even know if they make the playoffs. They're not in the picture right now. If the Ravens miss the playoffs, Harbaugh's got to be gone for me. How do you miss the playoffs with an MVP quarterback in his prime? I know Lamar this year hasn't been phenomenal, but he's good enough to get the job done. And this year, I know he's been injured, but like to start off 1-5, to look as bad as you have, it's bad, man. And you know what? I would argue, now that we're talking about receivers too, Steve, Zay Flowers isn't a number one at all. I don't think Lamar's had a true number one for his entire career. Who is he throwing to right now? Zay Flowers, his catching doesn't impress me. He's not this A-plus route runner. He's not this incredible deep threat. What does he do well? And then it's a washed-up DeAndre Hopkins. All respect to Nuke, but like his prime was a few years ago. And then it's Mark Andrews, who you just gave a bunch of money to, and Isaiah Likely, who are good tight ends, but they're not premier A options.
Well, that was actually Zay Flowers' first touchdown since week 1.
Crazy.
So, yeah, I don't even know what Zay Flowers does, to be honest. Well, you're right. Like, Lamar just hasn't had a Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua his entire career. And you think about, like, how Lamar is just making strides as a passer, how much better his passing numbers would be if he had, like, an Amon-Ra St. Brown. But, yeah, I'm with you on, like, the Harbaugh thing. Listen, after that Miami game, I thought they were going to make the playoffs, but then Lamar started looking like a shell of himself, and now I think the only shot they have is winning the North, and I think just the Steelers just have a slightly easier schedule to end the season, so they'll end up winning it. Even if I think they lose to Baltimore, it might not even matter. The Steelers might still win that division, but going back to Harbaugh, it's like the Tomlin thing. Like, these guys have been around for like 20 years. It's just like time, dude. Like, who just has a coach for 20 years? It's just too long no matter who you are. Like, you could be like one of the most successful coaches ever. You're there for 20 years. Your message gets old. Your schemes, your philosophy gets outdated. The way you interact with players or relatability just isn't the same, right? Like, it's just time for a divorce. It's like Harbaugh and Tomlin, they can stay there for an extra 10 years, and their franchises will still be, pretty premier in a sense. Like, they're always going to be knocking the doors in the playoffs. They'll never have, like, a top 5 pick. They're, like, always going to be a competitive team. But it just seems like the connection with Harbaugh and Lamar, I've been hearing some reports. It's not great. And I think if you're Baltimore, you have this quarterback who just needs to get into the next year healthy. Because when he's upright, he's an MVP. No questions. 2-time MVP, actually. Could have been 3. And I think if I'm Baltimore, I'm going to the offseason probably like, I'm going to go pick Lamar Jackson over John Harbaugh any day of the week and get this divorce done.
100%. I don't think you can debate that, Steve. The last topic I kind of wanted to throw your way, Steve, we didn't actually discuss this pre-episode, but thought it'd be cool to end on things. Just talking about Mahomes. I discussed the Chiefs yesterday on the episode, but it comes out the news, torn ACL, just got surgery on it.
Yeah.
People underestimate how quickly these guys in the NFL can rehab. Like,
oh, yeah.
He's had surgery within 24 hours. He's going to be ready to go in like a week at this rate.
Immediately. So.
Like it's crazy, right? So I think he'll be okay, maybe factors in a little bit early next season, but he'll probably be fine for the majority of next year, I would imagine. My thing about Mahomes, though, and I've kind of noticed this with Brady, Steve, so I want to wrap things up just hearing your thoughts on it. When will Mahomes get his full respect? Because Brady, like, people fucking hated Brady. People hated Brady's guts for the 2 decades he was in New England. Then he goes to Tampa and he becomes this national hero. And now when he's in the booth, everybody praises the guy. I don't hear one person online bashing Brady, saying he cheated, saying they hated him, saying they destroyed their hopes and dreams. Unless you're like a Jets, Dolphins fan, Bills fan, nobody says anything. And it's like, Mahomes is the same guy. Mahomes has done the exact same thing. People say, oh, it's different because they cheated. Same accusations about the Patriots. It's eerily similar to me, Steve. I don't understand it, and I think it'll take until he retires for him to get that like level of respect from everybody. And then there's this new face that comes on, and it's the same recycled story again.
I mean, when Mahomes played Tom Brady in the AFC Championship game in 2018, entire country was rooting for the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes.
Right?
It's like this next team that everyone was like hype. They were fun. They were, going to beat the Patriots and take over the AFC because everyone was waiting for the Patriots to be done. But now they rattle off, 3 Super Bowl wins in 6 years, 5 appearances in 6 years, and now they became the Patriots. But I like how you brought that up. What a lot of people don't talk about is the Tampa arc for Tom Brady was one of the best things that ever happened to him because he became like Florida Tom cool.
Yeah.
Right? He's throwing the Super Bowl trophy drunk over the boat in the ocean with the Rob Gronkowski, and he's cool because he's separated from the cold, tough Bill Belichick Patriots, goes down to the Buccaneers who hadn't won a Super Bowl in almost 20 years at that point, and he's just fun. And it's like during COVID, and we get to watch Tom Brady in 1 year take it over and go win in a different conference. And I think Mahomes, it's going to end up happening to Mahomes too. You see this a lot in the NBA too, when legends are hated during their prime. Oh, the refs are on their sides. They're cheaters. They're floppers. They're insufferable. But then once they start to age out, they go out gracefully. They have a retirement tour. They're like, oh, it wasn't that bad. This guy's actually one of the greatest players ever. And that will end up happening to Mahomes. It's going to be interesting to see because this happened to Brady. He tore his ACL. Then he goes on the second prime when he rattles off 3 Super Bowls. When is Mahomes going to have that second prime? Now, when Brady had his second prime, I'd argue, because I wasn't really around for the first prime, I was playing with Legos, but the second prime was when I was really starting to watch football. That's when I'd argue Brady was at his most hated. Everyone outside of Boston hated Tom Brady. I assume everyone's going to still hate Patrick Mahomes because I don't think the Chiefs are going away post-ACL. But I like to think that Mahomes would get his time. Maybe when Travis Kelce retires, a lot more people are just going to like the Chiefs because some people just think it's insufferable with all this Swift stuff. But we'll see.
Well, you think back to the Falcons Super Bowl and the Rams Super Bowl, and I remember when the Titans beat them in, I think, 2019. It was just like everyone was just pumped up.
Yeah.
Finally, like the empire has fallen. And then, just like you said, he goes to Tampa, and it's just like a new guy. And everybody just forgot within the snap of fingers that, like, you hated the guy for 2 decades. He
because I
ruined...
think he was so accomplished. Once he won that 7th one,
Yeah.
everyone believed Tom Brady was the GOAT after, like, ring 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But once you get to 7, it's like, I don't think I can hate anymore. I was the
no
same way,
kidding.
too. I was a Peyton Manning Colts guy. And, I always had respect for Tom Brady, but I'm like, this guy wins too much. Can someone else win? Because he's always beating the Colts, always beating Peyton Manning. But then when he wins that 7th, I'm like, this dude is so accomplished. I'm just going to sit over here and appreciate this greatness. I'm going to shut up and appreciate it. And I think that happened in 20 when he won in Tampa Bay, with people are just like, dude, 7, you got it, bro. Like, you're just the undisputed GOAT in all sports. I'm just going to appreciate it while you're still here. I think that's really what happened, on top of him being cool Tom.
Yeah, and I see him on Instagram too now. He's just relatable, like a relatable guy, like just down to earth, posting Instagram stories. Good morning, look at my plants. I'm harvesting. It's like, where was the ice cold Tom that we knew for like 2 decades? But I appreciate it, right? Like,
well, it's happening
I'm in
in LeBron. It's happening in LeBron.
Exactly.
I'm wearing a LeBron shirt coincidentally, but it's happening in LeBron. I'm old enough to remember where LeBron was just the most hated athlete in the world. I mean, after the decision, all these memes, the crying LeBron, flopper, steroid Bron, we hate Miami Bron. He goes back to Cleveland 3-1. Then everyone's like, oh my gosh, this guy is really good. He's doing this for Cleveland. He wins the other one for Los Angeles. Once LeBron became the all-time leading scorer, you don't really hear that many LeBron haters anymore. It's pretty much just Skip Bayless doing the old gimmick he's been doing for the last 20 years. But 10 years ago, everyone felt like was a LeBron hater. But now you go on TikTok, it just seems like everyone's a LeBron glazer. Everyone's just making memes how they have LeBron bed sheets and everything, how LeBron's their glorious king. You're on my sunshine was like one of the biggest memes of 2 years ago. And that's likely going to happen to Mahomes. You know, at some point, when you're great for so long in any sport, that like Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods has this whole scandal, and everyone's like, what's up with this Tiger Woods guy? Then he wins that Master in 19, and everyone's just like, oh, he's still competing at this high level. This dude just once you're just great for so long, people just finally come around. Even your biggest haters and admit, even Skip Bayless can admit LeBron's the greatest scorer ever. And I think that's truly fascinating. It happened to Tom, happened in LeBron, and I think it will end up happening to Mahomes if he can rattle off like 2 or 3 more.
Yeah, all the greats, man. There's definitely a trend. Steve, I appreciate it. That was a great hour on the show, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you.